During Taehyung's time in the major leagues with the Dodgers, several signs emerged that caught the attention of fans, especially those who closely followed Taehyung. One of the most talked about was a video called Taehyung made with Haesung Kim, a Korean professional baseball player. At first glance, it seemed like a normal thing, but there was one detail that sparked a lot of speculation: the cell phone Taehyung was holding. We all know that Taehyung's personal phone is a white iPhone, and even fans easily recognize the accompanying case because he has shown it several times. However, in that video call, his signature white phone wasn't seen, but a black one. This is where the connection with Jungkook comes in. As many remember, Jungkook's cell phone is black, which led several people to wonder if that phone actually belonged to him. Based on this detail, theories arose that Jungkook may have been accompanying Taehyung to that special event with the Dodgers. The idea isn't so far-fetched, as Jungkook's manager had already been seen in the same place before that appearance. And if the manager was there, it's possible Jungkook was too. This would fit with what we've seen on other occasions. Taehyung has shown on more than one occasion that they enjoy sharing important moments, even if they don't always appear together in front of the cameras. What characterizes this relationship is precisely that they don't need to show themselves directly to make it clear that they are united. Over time, they have given subtle signs that they enjoy each other's company, whether at big events or in more private situations. The fact that Taehyung appeared using a black phone, which isn't his own but matches Jungkook's, coupled with the manager's presence, fuels the idea that they may have shared this trip and this experience as a couple. Although there's no official confirmation that Jungkook was physically present at that location, the coincidences create an interesting framework for speculation. The truth is that Taehyung's followers are already accustomed to these situations, moments in which, without the need for clear photos or statements, clues are built that suggest the closeness between the two. It's important to note that even if it isn't confirmed with more obvious images, the value of these signs remains the same. Taehyung and Jungkook have never needed to show concrete proof for their union to be evident to their followers. Over the years, they have made it clear that their bond remains strong, and that they enjoy every opportunity to be together, whatever the setting. As we all know, Taehyung recently returned to Korea. According to RNX, Taehyung arrived at Incheon International Airport on the afternoon of August 27, just after experiencing a very important moment in his career, his first pitch at Dodger Stadium. This event was much talked about, but what caught the most attention about his return was the style he chose to appear at the airport. Taehyung was dressed entirely in white, a look that was both elegant and simple. The choice of this outfit didn't go unnoticed, as many immediately remembered Jungkook, who a few months ago had been seen wearing a similar style, but in black. This kind of contrast between the two, black and white, made fans start talking again about the connection that exists between them. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. Over the years, fans have noticed that although Taehyung and Jungkook don't always wear the same clothes, their styles are usually somehow related, as if one complements the other. In this case, while Jungkook wore black from head to toe, Taehyung opted for white. This sort of mirror image reminded many people that there is a special bond between them that goes beyond the obvious. The comparisons also made some recall the moment they were seen at an airport, walking side by side, maintaining the same natural rhythm. At the time, what was most striking was how they seemed to effortlessly adapt to each other's pace, displaying a closeness that needed no explanation. Every detail, from the way they looked at each other to the way they walked together, conveyed a connection that was hard to ignore. Taehyung's recent arrival reinforced that feeling. For many fans, it wasn't just a simple coincidence of styles, but a way to express their closeness without words. The black and white, worn by each at different but close moments, was interpreted as a symbol, two pieces that seemed contrary, but fit perfectly together. Of course, not everyone sees it the same way. There were those who claimed that Taehyung's outfit had nothing to do with Jungkook, and that it was simply a coincidence. However, within Taehyung's fandom, the idea of such a coincidence is always difficult to accept. For them, every gesture, every coincidence, and every detail in the way they express themselves has a meaning. For others, it may just be fashion or personal style, but for those who closely follow their relationship, it's a silent way of showing what they feel. That's why, when Taehyung appeared in white, comparisons immediately arose with Jungkook's black look. It wasn't just a matter of clothing, it was the feeling that, even in simple things, the two accompany and reflect each other. Taehyung's story has always been full of moments like this, seemingly simple moments that, for many, mean more than they seem. And while there will always be voices that try to separate or downplay the importance, the truth is that the coincidences and the connection between them continue to appear again and again, keeping the conversation alive about what they represent together. In relationships, there's always a clear difference between what's done to impress and what comes naturally. When someone acts to get attention, the gestures often feel forced, planned in advance. On the other hand, when two people truly understand each other, they don't need to think too hard about how to behave. Everything flows effortlessly, without needing to prove anything to anyone. That's precisely what happens with Taehyung and Jungkook. They don't seek to create a spectacle or give signals so others will talk about them. Theirs is different. They get closer because that's how their bond works, because the habit of being together has become an essential part of their way of living together. Over time, being by each other's side stopped being a one-off and became a natural habit. It's no longer a coincidence that they seek each other out, that they look at each other honestly, or that they touch each other without fear. It's the way their relationship was built, step by step, until it became inseparable from their daily lives. When something is repeated so many times and so consistently, it ceases to be an isolated gesture. It becomes a shared language, a kind of code that only they seem to master. In Taehyung and Jungkook's case, that language is perceived in the smallest details, the way they lean in when they speak, how they react when listening to each other, or even the comfortable silence they manage to maintain when nothing needs to be said. These are fragments of their bond that, although they may go unnoticed by many, reveal a closeness that is difficult to ignore. An example remembered by those who closely follow their relationship is that moment at an airport, when the two were seen walking side by side. There were no cameras waiting for them with a script in hand, nor were there any plans to show anything specific. They simply walked together, adapting their steps naturally, as if they had practiced this synchronicity all their lives. What caught my attention wasn't a striking gesture, but quite the opposite, the ease with which they adjusted to each other, conveying trust without needing to explain. Every glance exchanged, every seemingly casual gesture, was part of something bigger. These weren't coincidences, but rather the manifestation of an emotional routine they themselves had built over time. This routine, recognized by many Taekookers, demonstrates that their relationship isn't dependent on isolated moments. It's more like a shared habit, a way of being present in each other's lives, regardless of the context. The key to the bond between Taehyung and Jungkook isn't a single gesture that stands out from the rest, but rather the sum of them all. It's in the accumulation of seemingly small moments that the magnitude of their connection is revealed. Sometimes it's enough to observe how they lean on each other in a conversation, or how their reactions seem to complement each other without any conscious effort. What's interesting is that this dynamic doesn't need comparisons to shine, although they inevitably arise. Some, for example, mention situations with favorites and what was perceived between him and Jungkook. But what sets Taekook apart is the naturalness of his gestures. There's no attempt to show something that doesn't exist, but rather a coexistence built on habit, trust, and complicity. While others may share specific moments, Taehyung and Jungkook's connection goes beyond circumstances. The connection between them isn't limited to public spaces or stages where others can see them. Even in everyday contexts, when there's no audience present, they maintain that same balance. That's why so many people perceive something different about them. They're not two people who are together just for work or out of commitment, but two individuals who have developed a bond strong enough to sustain themselves in any situation.